Hi, I'm Marissa Krieg, and I'm in Information Technology Management, Section 201004, and this is my video on open source. I found this satirical cartoon interesting because on the window it says that there's a sale going on where everything is $0, which is true or almost true of open source. I also found it interesting because it says guaranteed or your money back, which is satirizing the fact that you actually won't get your money back. Open source is a software that can be accessed by anyone to be used, changed, and redistributed under licenses that adhere to the certain criteria of the open source definition. An overview of what we're going to talk about today is Open Source Initiative, or OSI, the definition and criteria of the licenses set in place by OSI, the benefits of open source, and a work cited. I chose this word cloud because I believe it represents most things that involve open source. The software, the applications, and the community that really drives the open source initiative. The Open Source Initiative, or OSI, is an advocacy group and a global nonprofit that promotes and protects the open source initiative and works on the licensing and the criteria to be licensed under open source. The open source definition as of OSI is that open source doesn't just mean access to the source code. The distribution of terms of open source software must comply with the following criteria. The first of the 10 criteria is free redistribution. The software can be combined with other programs and sold as a component without the need to pay royalties to the original party. It allows distributors to make adjustments and add on to existing software and sell it as their own. The second criteria is the source code. The source code must be in a form that the user can understand. One cannot deliberately confuse someone trying to download and use the code as a way of inhibiting accessibility of the code. The third criteria is derived works. The software must have the ability to be changed or improved, and the software, even when changed, must be able to stay under the same license as the initial code. The fourth criteria is the integrity of the author's source code. If the software's license allows for patch files, modifications in the source code, then the license would restrict the source code from being redistributed as the same name as initial, because there are now differences in the code that need to be addressed. The fifth criteria is no discrimination against persons or groups. This means that there can be no discrimination and all people must be allowed to access the code equally and fairly. Criteria 6 is that there can be no discrimination against fields of endeavor. There can be no restrictions based on field of work. The program must be accessible to all fields. The seventh criteria is distribution of license. The license must be applicable to all who access and redistribute the program, so that a new license would not be needed. The eighth criteria is that the license must not be specific to a product. The license must be general enough to encompass any field or product market the code might be used in and redistributed by. The ninth criteria is that the license must not restrict other software. The license cannot restrict future redistributed or manipulated software. Lastly, criteria 10, the license must be technology neutral. The license's terms cannot be based on a certain technology. The license's terms also must be neutral so that in the future they do not restrict the use of the code because of the use of a different technology. I found that this open source pyramid really sums up what the open source is all about. It is a place to collaborate, a place to publish, a place to learn, student netbooks, and a server. The benefits of open source include collaboration, cost, credibility, flexibility, reliability, and stability. And lastly, this is my works cited. If you need any information on the information used, please check out these websites. Thanks!